Kinship Placements and Reunification After Foster Care, Environmental and Cultural Factors by Julie Lebaron and Jami Smith. The foster care system is generally portrayed in the media as a negative program. The media tends to promote stereotypes and misinform people. It tends to put caseworkers and foster parents in a negative light. There isn't much on how the media portrays kinship placements or reunification, but many people get a negative portrayal of foster care in general due to news and media depiction of them. Some shows, such as Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, portray a positive aspect of kinship placements, as do many shows that show foster care, such as Punky Brewster, Parenthood, Boy Meets World, Instant Family, This Is Us, and Anne of Green Gables. There are many of these shows that show the biological parents in a negative light. They either don't want to care for their children, don't want to sacrifice their time for them, or aren't able to care for them, whether due to money issues or addiction. This type of portrayal may lead others to view reunification as a negative and rare occurrence. These types of portrayals lead to criticism and misunderstanding of those who are trying their best. It may lead to parents not trying as hard for reunification and having lower self-esteem. Support is essential to reunification. Reunification is only successful when there is a chance for security with the birth family and does not have many different assignments that are not positive. If there has been a placement for a long duration of time, there is not a positive effect on the child's behavior moving forward. Being fast in getting permanent placement for the child is of utmost importance, but being able to know the time frame for your reunification without the chance of going back is harder to determine. In order to get a child out of foster care, there needs to be a plan in place and followed in order to be able to get the children back. The children need to be safe and their needs have to be met. You also need to be able to be a parent. If that means going to parenting classes, then you should go. Visiting regularly will help the chance of getting the children back easier. Being in the child's life is a very important part of being able to achieve reunification with the children. Mothers and fathers need to work with the families that are taking care of their children in order to gain custody back, and the foster family needs to encourage a relationship between mother and father. If the mother and father do not have communication or visitation with the children, it can be difficult for reunification. Being there is also helpful with bonding and staying close to the children that are no longer in the care of the parent. Being able to communicate with the foster parents should be in a safe and respectful manner. Speak positive about the foster parents to your children and let them know they are cared for by the foster parents. It is good for the children to see that there is peace between the foster parents and you. Fears can affect a person's health positively or negatively depending on their lifestyle. They can help encourage a healthy lifestyle and healthy habits, but they can also have a negative influence and introduce bad hygiene, alcohol, and drugs. Peers can help to promote adults as well as youth to change behavior. The way peer communicates, the information and knowledge they have, and the experiences that may be shared all contributes to the ability of peers to help those in need of support. Increased social support leads to higher functioning in emotional, physical, social, and behavior areas in youth. It also helps to improve functioning in academics and behaviors while at school. Social support from teachers is the best for improving academic functioning and performance due to the informational support they give. The support given by peers helps to provide youth with emotional support needed to succeed in school concerning their general well-being. Youth in the foster care system need more social support than those who haven't been in foster care, but they tend to have less of it available to them. One of these reasons is that children in foster care tend to struggle to form those types of intimate relationships. It is also more difficult if children are moved from placement to placement. There's always hope for reunification. That is the ultimate goal, but there are many that are returned back to their family and then go back into foster care. Approximately 16% of reunified children re-enter care within 5 years. Substance abuse and mental health problems predicted higher rates of re-entry. As many as 65% of children that have been reunited with their families go back into foster care within 5 years. Most of those reunifications continue to cause issues that are difficult to handle. There is also a high chance that maltreatment will continue to occur by the percentage of 30 to 85. Children who are put into foster care and then taken out, then put back in, and so forth, make things hard for the children. They have a hard time adjusting and feeling wanted. Kids will almost always put the blame on themselves for the parents not staying together or not keeping them. Children will think that if they were better or listened to their parents more, they would not be in the situation they are in. Organizations that work with families concerning foster care and kinship placements vary from state to state. Children and Family Services is the main agency called to intervene concerning children and their living arrangements. These organizations have caseworkers that work to make sure the children are safe, taken care of, and have permanent living arrangements. Their priority is to keep children with their parents. If that is not possible, the next best option is a kinship placement. There are resources available to help parents in this situation, such as counseling, education, assistance with finances, childcare, and housing. When it is not safe for children to stay with their parents, the agencies or caseworkers work to find relatives for the children to stay with. Kinship placement is preferred over the placement of a child in a non-relative home. After a kinship placement, the agencies still work towards reunification with the parents. There are typically court review hearings every 6 months. These are to evaluate how the parents are progressing towards being able to reunify with their children and how the children are doing in a kinship placement. Revisions are made when necessary. Court permanency hearings are held every 12 to 14 months. This is when decisions about where the child will live permanently are made. Resources for the children, such as counseling and health insurance, like CHIP and Medicaid, are provided when needed. Kinship families also need support when taking in children. There is financial support, respite care, support groups, and kinship navigator programs. There are also resources available for parents working on reunification, including financial support, rehabilitation, and support groups. There are not many resources and support at local levels for this population. Most of the resources and programs available are on the state level but are supported through national funding. About 58% of funding for these resources is paid for by the state of Utah, and 42% is paid for by the federal government. Some potential barriers are drug usage, not enough support, not enough money, possible jail time, and not enough time. If the parents have a child that has been put in foster care because the parents were using drugs, there is a less chance for reunification. There's proof that when children are removed from parents that have had drug usage, it's not common to be reunited if the child was put into foster care. It is not a high possibility of reunification when children are put into foster care due to the parents' drugs. There can be poor results with children that are reunited with their family that is not prepared, which could lead to re-entry into the system that has a possibility of not being around the family for years. The removal decision can be quite difficult. Studies have shown that there is a wide range of similar psychological, social, and cognitive impairments, whether neglected and abused children are kept at home or are removed from their family. There are many factors in deciding to return a child to their family because there are dangers that might hurt the child in the long run that causes concern for the child and the family that is taking care of them. Due to media factors being worldwide, the influence internationally on kinship families and reunified families is the same as it would be nationally. Kinship placements are preferred by many countries. The United Nations prefers kinship placements because it lets the parents keep some ties to their children. They are not cut off. Children may be placed with family overseas. There is a guide on kinship placements that are international, created by children and families across borders. There are countries where children go to a family that is outside of the country they are from. Reunification becomes more unlikely with risks in socioeconomic. The challenges faced are housing issues, being single parents, and low income. Those who have stable housing and higher income tend to have a higher chance of reunification. Kinship placements don't receive as much support services as foster care parents do. They also tend to have a lower socioeconomic status due to being older, single, without work, or living in poorer households and communities. The financial services offered to kinship placements typically come from temporary assistance for needy families state funds. They tend to get a smaller amount of financial assistance than foster care families do. They also tend to have requirements for work and time limits. Children in kinship placements tend to have fewer behavioral issues and better social skills, but in the teen years there tends to be a higher rate of substance abuse and pregnancy in kinship placements. Those with low incomes tend to suffer more with the health due to lack of food and adequate housing. Low-income families also don't use preventative care due to not being able to afford it, since they don't seek preventative care when they aren't advised and educated about their health issues and risks. When they have seen the things that will complicate their treatment are addressed, such as poor housing. Those with low income also tend to have more mental health issues, such as depression and anxiety. Low-income families are less likely to be insured and also tend to live in neighborhoods that aren't safe and usually don't trust the neighbors to give support. They also tend to not be able to afford prescriptions that can help with treatment or preventative measures. Black families are affected by reunification if it involves being a single parent, having drug involvement, and kinship placement. Using a methodological approach called decision-making ecology, which can observe complex interactions, these researchers found that cases involving single parents, infants, drug involvement, and kinship placement among Black families resulted in a 68% reduced likelihood of reunification. Many studies have shown that children that become reunified with their parents are not likely to be Black, younger than 1 year old, have a disability or mental health issue, or one that has been in kinship care. Religion and spirituality tend to help with mental health. It helps to provide ways to cope as well as provide people with meaning and purpose, which helps to decrease the factors that affect mental health, such as stress, negative emotions, anxiety, and depression. It also helps to increase and promote better behaviors concerning health. Those who are involved in religion and spirituality tend to use alcohol, smoking, and drugs less than those without. They may also have improved lifestyles, including better eating habits and being more active physically. Religious activities such as prayer and meditation have also been shown to increase the activity in the frontal lobe of the brain. They have also been shown to lower heart rate and blood pressure, which are signs of lowering stress. These things help to improve the length of life and decrease issues with the heart. Religion also may provide a strong social network. Stronger social support can help provide resources such as childcare and financial help, along with friendship and someone to talk to, which can relieve stress. Men who are not married to the children's mother may have to receive a paternity test before they get any rights towards the children. Girls in foster care are 2 times more likely to get pregnant before they turn 19 than their peers. Since they are shuffled around to different places, they do not have the same type of schooling that their friends do. Therefore, they do not have the role models that they require to make good decisions. They may not have the education on safe sex practices because of that. They may purposefully get pregnant to have a family of their own. About half of older children that are in foster care have run away once, if not more than that. This is since they are not feeling accepted and are trying to push away their foster family, and the foster family wants to pull them back in. The reason they come back is because they do not want to leave their siblings behind. Sex traffickers normally look for victims that are not sure of themselves and are vulnerable. Foster care children are the prime example of this type of person. Therefore, they are likely to be enticed into that type of situation due to lack of supervision that they have. Who are reunified in kinship placement families tend to have lower incomes. Due to this, they might not have easy access to transportation. Many healthcare facilities and social service agencies tend to be located further away from the low-income areas. If this facility isn't within walking distance, then these families who don't have good transportation won't visit the healthcare facilities as often. Some areas may have different sets of attitudes and lifestyles that affect their health as well. Geographical location also determines what people eat, are exposed to concerning the air that is breathed in, and the viruses that they are exposed to. Those with low income tend to live in areas that have higher pollutants in the environment as well as a possibility of unsafe drinking water. These aspects can create health issues due to the pollution of the environment. Telehealth may be a solution to the geographical location issues that can occur. Telehealth tends to have lower costs, which would help the low-income families, which kinship and reunified families tend to be. It would also allow access to healthcare services without having to travel. Telehealth is convenient for families as well as providers. It helps to increase healthcare access to communities that don't have access to local healthcare providers. Implicit bias, reunification is a high possibility and is expected. The child is going to foster care because they are not taken care of. Explicit bias, reunification does happen, but is most likely temporary and the child goes back into the system. The child is being neglected, abandoned, or abused. There are just as many problems internationally as there are in the United States. Some countries only have the guardians pick what information is important to show the judge about the likelihood of reunification, which they can say positive or negative things. They are allowed to omit information that might be pertinent for reunification. Other countries rely on doctors to help determine if reunification would be a good idea. In the Netherlands, there are studies that show an absence in what measures with all the people that are affected in the reunification can cause anger and prevent active listening skills and good communication. In the context of reunification process, the Dutch Family Council emphasized that the development, functioning, and wishes of the child should be considered. The Netherlands has a different way of deciding if reunification can be made. The judges do not rely on what the foster care workers have to say to make the decisions. In other countries, including Spain and Portugal, if there is a secure permanent foster care placement, then doctors do not suggest reunification, and most of the children stay in the situation they are in for an extended amount of time. Even though the Portugal doctors are supposed to look at the child, and the first preference should be the chance of reunification. In the Dutch Civil Code, family judges are the ones that choose if the child will still be at high risk when being reunited, and what the parents have done to change what they are abiding by the rules. In Europe, they are trying to change the view that professionals have that work with families in the child protection system in a constructive way in the partaking of reunification with their children.